Hey, church family, I hope you're all doing well. And I want to continue the series on faith that we started last week. And remember last Friday, we talked about the disciples who were filled with great fear when Jesus calmed the wind and the waves, because up to that point, they had seen him do other miracles, but this was something completely different. This was something that seemingly no one could have control over, and yet he spoke and said, "Peace, be still." And the wind and the waves were completely calmed, and they were completely terrified because they'd never seen anything like this before. This was far beyond anything that they had ever expected Jesus to be. But I want to continue in this story from the end of chapter 4 there, and now to the beginning of chapter 5, verses 1 through 20. We're going to talk about the demons that were driven out by Jesus and the people who saw it happen, and continue our talk about faith. So Mark chapter 5, verses 1 through 20 says this: They came out to the other side of the sea in the region of the Gerasenes. As soon as he got out of the boat, a man with an unclean spirit came out of the tombs and met him. And he lived in the tombs, and no one was able to restrain him anymore, not even with chains, because he often had been bound with shackles and chains, but had torn the chains apart and smashed the shackles. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day, among the tombs and on the mountains, he was always crying out and cutting himself with stones. And when he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran out and knelt before him. And he cried out with a loud voice, "What do you have to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you before God, don't torment me." For he had told him, "Come out of the man, you unclean spirit." And he asked, "What is your name?" And the spirits answered, "My name is Legion, because we are many." And he begged him earnestly not to send them out of the region. And a large herd of pigs was there, feeding on the hillside. And the demons begged him, "Send us into the pigs so we may enter them." So he gave them permission. And the unclean spirits came out and entered the pigs. And the herd of about 2,000 rushed down the steep bank into the sea and drowned there. And the men who tended them ran off and reported it to the town and to the countryside. And the people came to see what had happened. And they came to Jesus and saw the man who had been demon-possessed sitting there, dressed and in his right mind. And he told them about the pigs. Then they began to beg him, meaning Jesus. They began to beg Jesus to leave their region. And as he was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged him earnestly that he might remain with him. And Jesus did not let him, but told him, "Go home to your own people and report to them how much the Lord has done for you and how much he has had mercy on you." So he went out and began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him. And they were all amazed. Now I want to look at this for just a moment. Everyone in this village knew that this man was demon-possessed and that he was terrifying. He was breaking shackles and chains, that they were trying to hold him down and keep him. But Jesus speaks to the demons and they become terrified. They know who Jesus is. They know that he is the Son of God. Why? Because the demons are angels who had followed Satan. And so they know exactly who Jesus is. And when they see him coming, they are terrified. And they ask him, don't send us out of the region. Don't do anything like that. Just send us into, there's all those pigs over there. Why don't you send us into those pigs? And Jesus allowed them to go into those pigs. And they ran down the steep hill and the pigs drowned. And then all of the men who were watching, tending to the pigs, they began telling the other people in the village about what was going on. And they came out and they asked Jesus to leave, to get out of their region. Why? Because they saw Jesus and all of the people who had been following him and all of the clamor and all of the pomp and circumstance that followed him and all of the crowds and all of the chaos that came around as an inconvenience. And they didn't want to be inconvenienced. They didn't want to be they didn't want to have their comfortable, quiet lives interrupted. You see what they had already done to this man who was demon-possessed. They had shackled him and chained him. They didn't want to deal with him either because he was an interruption, and they saw Jesus the same way. They just wanted to be quiet and off to the side. They didn't want an interruption to their lives, but Jesus's power is an interruption. It is an interruption to our lives. People think that way today. They don't want an interruption to their life. They don't want things to change. They want to hang on to their way. We want to hang on to our ways and not surrender to Jesus, not give him all that is due because we've become comfortable with our lives. We don't have enough faith sometimes to allow God to move in our lives. We're going to continue on Friday in our study through faith. And we're going to talk about the woman that touched the hem of his garment. But I want to ask you today, are you pushing Jesus away? Are there things in your life that Jesus is trying to do, but you're pushing him away? Or maybe you're not accepting Jesus into your life. You're not fully surrendering to Jesus in your life because you don't want the interruption. I'm praying for you. And I pray that you would open your heart and allow Jesus to do the most wonderful, miraculous things in your life. God bless you, church family. See you next time.